The scene looks perfectly ordinary and innocent. A mother and her young child checking into a luxury service apartment in Goa, India. Goa is a tourist destination famous for its sunny beaches, old buildings and churches. Although the apartment has been booked for 4 days, close to midnight on the second day, the mother asks the receptionist to book a taxi for her to Bengaluru, which was some 600 kilometers away. Perhaps noting the lateness of the hour, the receptionist suggests that the mother takes a flight instead as it's faster and cheaper. Furthermore, there were morning flights available to Bengaluru, but the mother is adamant. So they arrange a taxi for her. When the taxi arrives, the mother gets into the taxi with her luggage. Soon, the taxi is on its way to Bengaluru. Sometime after they cross the border into Karnataka, the taxi pulls into a police station. A police inspector approaches the mother and asks her to open her suitcase. When she does, he makes a shocking discovery. The mother is Suchana Seth, a woman with a doctorate in physics and who is an artificial intelligence and data science expert and CEO of her own startup company. But her name would soon be on everyone's lips because she is the woman who was apprehended with her dead child concealed in her suitcase.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. Anxiety, filling up every space, no privacy, and silently, it could build and build until you finally see, whoa, it's taking over, damn no closure, moving closer.
Hi, how are you today? I hope that all is well with you and that you are loving life. As for me, I'm fine and busy making these podcasts for you. Our case today is a developing one because it happened at the beginning of January. This case is disturbing as it concerns the unnatural death of a child allegedly killed by his mother. Viewer discretion is therefore advised. Before I start, I would like to make something very clear. Suchana has not yet been convicted of any offense. This is a recent case that has not yet gone to trial. A silver thread that runs through the criminal justice system of many countries is the presumption of innocence. This means an accused person is innocent until proven guilty. So everything that Suchana is said to have done are only unproven allegations. The burden of proof is on the prosecution, in this case the state of Goa, to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Suchana is guilty of the crime of murder. Suchana does not have to prove anything as it stands now. With that understood, let's get into the case so far. Suchana Seth is a Bengali woman who was born in 1985, so that makes her 39 this year. She's 5 feet 5 inches tall, that is 165 cm. She has black hair and black eyes. I've not been able to find any information about her family except that her mother has passed away and that she is estranged from her father, with whom she has not spoken since her mother passed. Suchana was a very clever girl who was active in school. She won prizes in quiz competitions, debates, creative writing, and art competitions. She painted and until her arrest posted her art pieces on her Instagram page. Suchana obtained a bachelor's degree in physics from the University of Calcutta. Later, she obtained a master's degree in physics from the same university, specializing in plasma physics and astrophysics. She also holds a postgraduate diploma in Sanskrit. She went south to Bengaluru in the state of Karnataka in 2008 to do her PhD in physics at the renowned Raman Research Institute, where she later started her career as a research fellow. After that, she worked in both the fields of artificial intelligence and data science. According to her LinkedIn profile, she is an AI ethics expert and data scientist with 12 years experience and one of the top 100 brilliant women in AI ethics in 2021. Another credential listed in her LinkedIn profile is that she worked at the Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society at Harvard University as a fellow with involvement in the ethics and governance of artificial intelligence. In 2020, she founded a startup company called the Mindful AI Lab in Bengaluru. While she was working for her PhD, she met a fellow physicist in 2008 who was doing his PhD in physics at the Raman Research Institute. His name was P.R. Venkataraman. We'll call him Raman. They fell in love and were married in Kolkata on the 18th of November 2010, and they had a son in August of 2019 whom they named Chinmay. Now, who was Raman? Raman was born in Chidambaram in Tamil Nadu, India in 1978. That would make him 46 years this year. He comes from a very accomplished family. His paternal grandparents were both scientists. His late father was a professor of chemistry at the University of Madras, and his uncle, who has the same name as him, is a structural biologist who shared the 2009 Nobel Prize in Chemistry with two others. His aunt, Lalita Ramakrishnan, is a microbiologist and currently a professor of immunology and infectious diseases at the University of Cambridge in England. Raman went to school in the southern state of Kerala. He was a brilliant student in school who did exceptionally well in science and mathematics. He was active in extracurricular activities as well, like chess, debate, and music. Raman has a bachelor's and a master's degree in physics from the Calicut University of Kerala and a doctorate in physics from the Raman Research Institute. He is also a published author of several papers in reputed journals and is well known for his research. After his PhD, he switched from academia to working in industry in the field of data science and analytics. My research says that he currently works as head of data science for Go2 Financial, an Indonesian financial technology company. But other reports says that he works in India, so I'm not sure. He probably returned to India to work while traveling to Indonesia whenever he is required to do so. So as you can see, both Sucharna and Raman are highly educated and enterprising people with successful careers. Now, although their professional lives were fulfilling, their personal life together wasn't all that great. It got worse soon after their son was born, as more differences cropped up between them. According to Raman, soon after the birth of their son, Sucharna became possessive of the child and they started having frequent fights. Their marital problems led them to separate sometime in March 2021, after which Sucharna lived alone with her son Chinmay in an apartment in Bengaluru. Sucharna then commenced divorce proceedings in August 2022. Her grounds appeared to be that Raman didn't take care of her while she was pregnant, that he didn't care for Chinmay, that he sexually harassed her and frequently assaulted her and her son. Apparently, he was cruel to her and abused her physically. She also claimed that Chinmay was afraid of his father. As part of the divorce proceedings, Sucharna also claimed for maintenance of 2.5 lakhs per month, that is 250,000 rupees, which is just over 3,000 US dollars from Raman, claiming that he earned over 1 crore rupees annually, which is 121,000 US dollars. Suchana also commenced a domestic violence action against Raman, accusing him of physically abusing her and Chinmay. She had WhatsApp messages, photos, medical reports in court. She filed them to support her claim. Raman has always denied these abuse charges. Together with domestic violence action, Suchana also applied for a restraining order against Raman. This application was heard ex parte, that is, in the absence of Raman. An interim ex parte order was granted against Raman on the 18th of August 2022, forbidding him from going to Suchana's house and also from communicating in any manner with either Suchana or Chinmay. An interim order is a temporary order until the application is heard in the presence of both parties. The temporary restraining order was granted on the basis that at first glance, on the evidence presented, there appeared to be some evidence to justify a temporary restraining order. However, the court allowed Raman to speak to his son over the phone or by video call. Subsequently, possibly after hearing from the lawyers of both parties, Raman was allowed to meet his son once in every 2 weeks within the court premises, and then later he was allowed to meet his son in a public place. In September 2023, the court ordered Raman to pay monthly interim maintenance of 20,000 rupees per month to Suchana. Raman paid this amount faithfully until November 2023, totaling a sum of 60,000 rupees. Then, in November 2023, the court allowed Raman to have access to his son every Sunday at his home from morning till evening, that is the whole day. You can imagine what this did to Suchana. She was very unhappy and probably very livid with this order. Looks like she wanted Chinmay to have nothing to do with his father. She went back to court to overturn the order, and her application to overturn was fixed to be heard on January the 10th, 2024. In the meanwhile, Suchana breached the order that granted Raman access to Chinmay. After a visit on the 10th of December, Suchana didn't allow Raman to meet with Chinmay again. The pending domestic violence action was heard on the 12th of December 2023 and adjourned to 29th January 2024. Raman, who had been denied access to Chinmay for 5 weeks, then called Suchana and told her that he wanted to see his son on Sunday, the 7th of January 2024. He asked her to bring their son to his house for his visitation rights. Suchana sent a message to Raman on 6th of January 2024 saying that he could meet Chinmay at 10 on Sunday the 7th, but not at his house, but in a public place. Well, beggars can't be choosers, right? So Raman agreed. Raman went to the appointed place at 10 a.m. on 7th January and waited for some 2 hours, but there was no show from Suchana or Chinmay. Suchana ignored his messages and email and didn't answer his calls. Raman therefore travelled to Indonesia on work without seeing his son. So what happened was, on the 6th of January 2024, one day before Raman's scheduled visit with his son, Suchana flew to Goa with Chinmay and checked into a service apartment at the Hotel Sol Banyan Grande until 10th January. Therefore, Suchana was in Goa on Sunday the 7th of January 2024 when she was supposed to be in Bengaluru. She had deliberately led Raman on with no intention whatsoever of letting him meet his son. Now, by the time they checked into the service apartment on the 6th of January, it was already late, about 11:30 p.m. After checking into the apartment, Suchana apparently remained in the apartment most of the time, ordering coffee and food online. She, however, didn't stay until the 10th of January. Late on Sunday night, 7th January, at about 11:45, Suchana asked the receptionist to order a taxi for her to return to Bangalore, saying that she had to attend to a pressing matter. Perhaps because it was late at night, the receptionist said, "Madam, why don't you take a flight instead? It's cheaper and faster. A flight will take 90 minutes, while a road journey will take 12 hours. There are morning flights available, madam. Please take a flight." Suchana was adamant. "I'm going to Bengaluru by taxi. Please get me a taxi now." The receptionist ordered a taxi for her for the 600-kilometer drive to Bengaluru. Ray John D'Souza, a taxi driver, was working that night. There he was waiting for a fare when his mobile phone rang. "Ah, a fare," he thought. The caller was the receptionist from the Hotel Sol Banyan Grande, an upmarket hotel. "I have a lady passenger who wants to go to Bengaluru now. Can you take her?" Ray John probably looked at the time. It was about 12:30 a.m. He said that the fare would be 30,000 rupees because it was late at night. The receptionist asked him to hold and returned within 10 minutes to say that the passenger was agreeable to the fare. Ray John then asked his friend Devraj Shinde to accompany him because the trip was going to be a long, long one. Now they reached the hotel in Ray John's taxi within the hour. Suchana was waiting for them with a big suitcase. She appeared calm and composed as she asked Ray John to load her suitcase into the taxi. When he carried the taxi, it was heavy. "Hey, what have you got in there?" he asked. "Oh, some antiques and glasses. That's why it's heavy." "Okay, can we remove some things from the bag to make it lighter?" "No," Suchana said. "No." Ray John and Devraj had to drag the suitcase to the boot of the car to load it. Suchana then got in and told Ray John that she needed to get to Bengaluru as soon as possible. The taxi started its journey. It was about 1:30 a.m. on Monday, the 8th of January 2024. Suchana sat quiet and appeared calm in the taxi as it journeyed to Bengaluru in the dead of the night. But Ray John didn't feel very calm. Something bothered him. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on whose viewpoint you take, the trio was stuck in a horrendous traffic at a place called Chola Ghat, which is at the border of Goa, Maharashtra and Karnataka because of an accident. A truck had overturned. They were expected to be stuck there for 4 hours. Now, remembering that Suchana had told him earlier that she had to get to Bengaluru as soon as possible, and also because Ray John had this uneasy feeling, he offered to turn back and drive her to the airport. He exaggerated the time of delay and said that they would be stuck for 6 hours. Suchana declined his offer. She insisted that she would travel in his taxi. After about a 4-hour delay, the taxi continued its journey at about 6 a.m. and crossed the border into Karnataka. Ray John stopped for breakfast at about 7 a.m. Suchana remained in the taxi and didn't have any breakfast. The trio resumed their journey to Bengaluru after breakfast. As the taxi headed towards Bengaluru in the morning of Monday, the 8th of January, things were happening in Goa. When the hotel staff went to clean the apartment that Suchana had vacated, they noticed some blood stains, either on a pillow or a big bed sheet. I'm not sure which. The reports are conflicting. Already suspicious that Suchana, who checked in with her son, had checked out alone, the hairs on their hands must have stood up when they saw the blood stains. They quickly informed the police. When the police arrived at the hotel, they checked the CCTV camera, which confirmed that Suchana had left in the taxi alone without her son. That and the blood stains raised a red flag. Meanwhile, in Karnataka, Ray John and company were well on their way to Bengaluru when about 11 a.m., Ray John's mobile phone rang showing an unknown number. He answered and it was the Goa police. The police asked him if Suchana, his passenger, was accompanied by a child. When he said no, they wanted to speak to Suchana, so he gave her the phone. Hello, madam. Where's your son, madam? My son? Oh, he's with my friend in Fatoda. As a quick aside, Fatoda is a suburb in the city of Margao in Goa. Oh, I see. Okay, madam. Can you give me your friend's address in Fatoda? Okay, Suchana said and gave the police an address in Fatoda. Oh, also, madam, the hotel staff found some blood stains in the apartment. Oh, that must be my menstrual blood. So sorry. I'll pay for the cleaning. The call ended and the taxi continued on to Bengaluru. Not surprisingly, the address turned out to be fake. So the police called Ray John again, and this time they spoke to him in Konkani, that's the language of Goa, so as not to arouse Chana's suspicions. At this time, the taxi was only 1.5 hours away from Bengaluru. So near and yet so far. The police informed him that his passenger had checked in with a child and left without the child. Further, that the hotel staff had discovered blood stains in the apartment. The police then directed Ray John to drive to the nearest police station. Unfortunately, Ray John didn't know where the nearest police station was. He was not familiar with Karnataka. So he did what we all would do. He Googled it and found that the nearest one was some 100 kilometers behind. He didn't want to take a U-turn as that would alert Suchana that something was amiss. So he stopped at a restaurant and asked the guard at the restaurant for directions to the nearest police station, and he was told that it was some 500 meters away in a town called Ayamangala. In the meanwhile, Suchana, wondering where Ray John had disappeared to, asked Devraj Shinde, "Where's the driver?" "Bathroom, madam," was the reply. Ray John returned and drove straight to the police station at Ayamangala, which is in the Chitradurga district in Karnataka. The time was around 3 p.m. Suchana asked him why, and he said that there was an issue. Suchana didn't react and kept silent. According to Ray John, it took about 15 minutes for the inspector to come out, but Suchana sat calmly in the taxi. Perhaps she had resigned herself to her fate. The inspector asked Suchana to open her suitcase, and he saw a child's hand underneath some clothes. He called some lady police officers who probed further into the suitcase and found Chinmay dead under the clothes. The inspector asked her, "Is this your son?" And Suchana said, "Yes." Suchana didn't volunteer any more information and she was emotionless. She was detained and her son's body was sent to a hospital in a nearby town called Hiriyur. Some police personnel from Goa went to Ayamangala on Monday night and formally arrested Suchana. They then escorted her back to Goa on Tuesday the 9th of January, where she was booked for murder, destruction of evidence, and for offences under the Goa Children's Act. She is remanded in police custody for 6 days to facilitate police investigations. As an aside, the police had 90 days to prepare a charge sheet against Suchana. So there she was in a police station cell waiting for what was to come. The scene now shifts to Indonesia. Raman was in Jakarta on work on Tuesday the 9th of January. He was probably sad, disappointed, and angry. Suchana had lied to him and made him wait needlessly for Chinmay on Saturday, the 7th of January. He had come to Indonesia on a scheduled business trip on the 7th of January after not being able to see Chinmay. As at 9th of January, Raman hadn't held his son in his arms for weeks. Perhaps he was thinking of how to ensure he gets his visitation the next time, not knowing the terrible truth. His phone rang while he was at work. It was the Goa police. I wonder, did he collapse to the floor when he heard that his precious one and only child was dead? Did he wish that the earth would open and swallow him when he learned that Chinmay was in fact killed, and perhaps by his own mother? The heartbroken Raman flew back to India on the same day. He arrived at the Hiriyur hospital and gave permission for a postmortem to be conducted on Chinmay. He later took Chinmay's body back to Bengaluru and conducted his son's final rites on Wednesday, the 10th of January 2024. A fate that should not befall any parent, I'm sure. The results of the postmortem revealed that Chinmay was smothered to death with either a piece of cloth or pillow. The child's nose was bleeding and his face and chest were swollen due to suffocation. There were no signs of struggle, which could mean that he was somehow incapacitated at the time of death. The doctor reported that Chinmay's body didn't show any sign of rigor mortis. Now, rigor mortis is the stiffening of the body after death due to chemical changes in the body, and it is a sign that death has occurred. Rigor mortis usually occurs within 4 hours after death, and the body goes into full rigor mortis within 8 hours. Rigor mortis is, however, not permanent. The body remains in full rigor mortis for about 24 hours after death, after which the stiffness begins to wear off. Rigor mortis usually disappears 36 hours after death. The doctor was therefore of the opinion that Chinmay was killed at least 36 hours before he was found. Let's calculate. Chinmay was found in Ayamangala at about 3:30 p.m. on Monday, the 8th of January. That means that 3:30 p.m. on Sunday, the 7th of January would be 24 hours before. 3 p.m. on Saturday, 6th January would be 48 hours. So 36 hours would be 3:30 a.m. on Sunday, the 7th of January. It is reported that Suchana checked into the service apartment at about 11:30 p.m. on Saturday, 6th January. That means poor Chinmay was killed not long after Suchana checked in, possibly between 11:30 p.m. on the 6th of January and 3:30 a.m. on the 7th of January. If my timings are correct, that means that she sat by her son's corpse for way more than 12 hours. It was reported that the police believed that she killed her son within 2 hours of checking into the service apartment and stayed with the body for nearly 19 hours. Gosh, that would have been traumatic for any mother. I just don't understand how she could remain so cool and composed afterwards. Once Suchana was in custody, the police began their investigations. They took possession of the CCTV camera tapes, and a forensics team searched the apartment to gather evidence. Suchana was questioned by the police, but she refused to cooperate. However, the police did manage to gather some information from her. That was that she was very distressed and unhappy with a court order giving her husband visitation rights to her son every Sunday from morning to evening. She said that she didn't want Chinmay to talk to his father. She mentioned a troubled marriage with Raman and that divorce proceedings were underway and in its final stage. She also denied killing Chinmay, saying that she loved her son. According to her, Chinmay was fine when she went to sleep and she found him dead when she woke up and she doesn't know what happened to her son. According to her, Chinmay died suddenly. I don't know. I went to sleep and when I woke up, he was dead. A couple of days later, it appears that she made a confession. It was reported that she told police that she wanted to stop her son from speaking to his father when Raman made a video call. So, she pressed a pillow over his face to make the poor child unconscious so that Raman wouldn't have a chance to talk to his son when he called. This resulted in the child suffocating to death. She apparently thought that Chinmay would be just rendered unconscious and would recover later. Suchana blamed a complex set of emotions coming from a deep love for her son and her frustration with the unsolved custody issue, causing her to believe that she would lose custody of her son. That drove her to what she did. What? I don't believe this. Hello, how much do you hate Raman, Suchana? Enough to put your own child's life in jeopardy? Anyway, apparently she told police that when she realized that Chinmay was dead, she didn't know what to do and so she tried to commit suicide. She did this by slashing her left wrist, but she failed. The cut was superficial and did not bleed much. She sat around with the body of her child until she decided to put him in a suitcase and return to Bengaluru. On Wednesday, the 10th of January, the police took Suchana for a psychological evaluation, which apparently is routine procedure. This was to ascertain her mental state and the motive for the alleged killing. As an aside, Suchana appeared mentally stable during questioning. Now, when the police went through Suchana's belongings on Thursday, the 11th of January, they found a note written with an eyeliner on tissue paper. The note was torn almost into bits. When the police pieced the note together, they found that Suchana had written about her bitter relationship with Raman and her distress at the court order granting Raman access to her son. She wrote, I can't tolerate the court order for my husband to see my son. The note containing 5 sentences went on to say that the court and her estranged husband are pressing her to concede custody, but she would never do that. She can't take it anymore and she will not give even a day's custody to her husband. She will not let anyone else have custody of her son. The police think that she wrote this note at the time she killed Chinmay and that the note shows motive for the killing. The note was sent for handwriting analysis. Also on Thursday, the 11th of January, Suchana made what is known as a voluntary disclosure about certain aspects of the crime. Based on this, the police took Suchana back to the service apartment on Friday, the 12th of January, to recreate the crime scene. The police requested the hotel staff to be present also so that their statements could be recorded in Suchana's presence. Now this recreation is called Panchanama. It's a record of observations on a crime in the presence of witnesses. It is reported that Suchana did not cooperate with the police during this Panchanama. At first, she did not want to talk unless it was in the presence of her lawyer. Then she admitted to killing her son. Soon after that, she denied killing her son and reiterated that she had found him dead when she woke up. The police said that she was full of contradictions. The police took 2.5 hours to recreate the crime scene based on her statement. During the Panchanama, Suchana showed where her child was laying down, where the suitcase was, and how she stuffed her son's body into the suitcase. She also showed how she slashed her wrist in an attempt to commit suicide. The record was then signed by Suchana as being accurate. In the days following the Panchanama, she stuck to her version that she did not kill her son and that he died suddenly. With her confession, followed by a reiteration of her earlier version denying that she suffocated her son and instead found him dead upon waking up, we'll only know what the actual facts are when her case comes to trial. Raman arrived in Goa on Saturday the 13th of January and spent about 2 hours giving his statement to the police. After that, he met with Suchana. The meeting was reportedly confrontational. When they met, Raman asked Suchana, "What have you done to my son? How could you do this to me?" "I haven't done anything. I don't know how he died." This was Suchana's reply, despite her earlier statement that she accidentally suffocated her son to death. "If you didn't kill him, then how did he die? It's all your fault. It's your fault that I am in police custody and you are free." This was her reply to Raman. Their meeting lasted 20 minutes in which they argued and blamed each other for the death of their son. On Monday the 15th of January, the police sought to extend Suchana's custody for a further 8 days because Suchana was just not talking and was only giving bits and pieces of information. Further interrogation was therefore required because the police were asking Suchana questions through a psychiatrist as she was being uncooperative. Also, the police were waiting for test results to come back and to obtain Suchana's DNA sample. When asked by the court, Suchana said that she had nothing to say. The court then extended police custody until Friday the 19th of January to facilitate further police investigations. On 19th of January, Suchana was produced in court at the end of her police custody. The police didn't seek further remand because Suchana had been consistently uncooperative during questioning and had avoided answering questions. But in spite of that, the police had accomplished certain things and had also obtained DNA and medical tests. They had therefore completed their investigations and didn't require Suchana to be in police custody any further. In the circumstances, the court sent Suchana to judicial custody for 13 days. At this point, I have to explain the concepts of police custody and judicial custody. Police custody is where a suspect is held in a cell in the police station and is under the supervision of the police, whereas in judicial custody, the suspect is held in a prison and is under the supervision of the magistrate who sent the suspect to judicial custody. In police custody, a suspect can be questioned at any time by the police, while in judicial custody, the police must obtain permission from the magistrate to question the suspect. From my reading, I understand that when a first information report is filed in India stating that a serious crime, for example murder, has been committed and a suspect is arrested by the police, the suspect is initially held in police custody or remand as it's called, to enable questioning by the police and also to prevent the suspect from fleeing, tampering with justice, or influencing witnesses. This custody, however, cannot exceed 24 hours and therefore the suspect must be produced before a magistrate within 24 hours. This is actually to ensure that the suspect's rights are protected because a suspect cannot be held at the pleasure of the police indefinitely. When the suspect is brought before the magistrate will decide whether to send the suspect to judicial custody or back to police custody. The magistrate will send the suspect back to police custody if, among other things, the police require more time to complete the investigation. Otherwise, the suspect is sent to judicial custody. When the suspect is in judicial custody for a serious crime like murder, he can be held for a maximum of 90 days. Because the police have to file a charge sheet against the suspect within 90 days of arrest in a case of murder, for instance, the suspect would be automatically released on bail in the event a charge sheet is not filed within the 90 days. If a charge sheet is filed, then the accused is still placed in judicial custody until they apply for bail. It is the police case where Suchana smothered her son because of the custody and visitation issues. They also say that the murder appears to be premeditated because the police found 2 empty bottles of cough syrup in the apartment, one big and one small. The hotel staff informed the police that Suchana had asked them to buy a small bottle of cough syrup, saying that she had a cough. Therefore, it would appear that Suchana had brought with her the bigger bottle of cough syrup. As both bottles were found empty, it appears that she gave Chinmay both the bottles of cough syrup. This would have made the child extremely drowsy. Further, the postmortem report says that there were no signs of struggle. So it could be that the child was given 2 bottles of cough syrup so that he would not be able to resist when he was smothered. The police say that the motive is that she didn't want Raman to have access to his son, and the custody issue in her mind was going to be decided against her. From investigations, the police also learned a few more things. Firstly, Suchana brought 2 one-way flight tickets to Goa for the 6th of January 2024, which means she intended to travel back to Bengaluru by road. Secondly, her decision to fly to Goa on the 6th of January is a last-minute decision after she told Raman that he could see Chinmay the next day. Thirdly, January the 6th was not the first time that Suchana took her son to Goa. She went to Goa with her son on Sunday 31st of December after informing Raman that he could not see Chinmay because the child was unwell. She returned to Bengaluru on January the 4th. Fourthly, the blood on the pillow was tested and shown to belong to Suchana, and this means that she did try to kill herself. Fifthly, in her last Instagram post dated 10th of October 2023, she posted a photo of Chinmay playing near an aquarium with the cryptic hashtag "What will happen?" Sixthly, her initial plan was to stay in South Goa, but because she couldn't book a suitable hotel, she decided to stay in North Goa. As a quick aside, South Goa is closer to Bengaluru. Seventh, according to Suchana's call record, she didn't make or receive any calls during her stay in the service apartment. 8. Suchana started to dislike her son because he looked like his father and constantly reminded her of Raman and their unhappy marriage. Now the police believe that if not for the traffic jam at Chola Ghat, Suchana would have reached Bengaluru much earlier and would have had the opportunity of disposing of her son's corpse. A domestic violence case came up for hearing on 29th of January and was adjourned due to her absence as she was in a jail in Goa. The police allege that Suchana took Chinmay to Goa to kill him rather than let him have anything to do with his father. If it is proved that Suchana did kill her son for this reason, then what does this say about Suchana? Her hatred for her husband is greater than the love for her son? Anyway, that's a moot point at this moment, but it prompts me to talk briefly about maternal filicide. Filicide is the murder of a child by a parent. Maternal filicide is when a mother deliberately kills her own child. It has been found that there are 5 motivations for maternal filicide. They are, firstly, an altruistic motivation. In this case, a mother kills her child out of love for the child. She kills because she thinks it would be in the best interest of her child. A suicidal mother who kills her child so that the child does not have to grow up motherless in a world that is not so secure is a case of altruistic motivation. Secondly, a psychotic motivation, where a psychotic mother kills her child because she thinks that she is saving her child from a fate that is worse than death. Example, a psychotic mother who has hallucinations and perhaps she hears voices, maybe she thinks of God, telling her to kill her child. This is one example. Thirdly, a motivation to abuse her child by malnourishment or other types of abuse that ends with the child dying from the abuse. Fourthly, the child may be an unwanted child that the mother considers a hindrance. And finally, the filicide is motivated by spousal revenge. In this case, the mother kills the child to punish the father. These issues are at the moment merely academic because nothing is proven as yet. Suchana is currently in jail. A lawyer has said that he has no instructions to apply for bail. The police have altogether 90 days from arrest to file a charge sheet against Suchana. So currently the case is pending the preparation of the charge sheet and her application for bail, if any. Now, there are a couple of reports that say that Raman spoke to Chinmay via a video call on the 7th of January. I don't understand this in the light of the supposed facts that Suchana and Chinmay left for Goa on the 6th of January, that Raman had said that he couldn't get through to Suchana on the 7th when there was no show from Suchana, that Chinmay died at least 36 hours before he was found, and that Suchana didn't make or receive any calls the whole time she was in Goa. I suppose we will have to wait for the trial for all the facts to come out. That's it from me. Thank you for your time. Until I see you again, take care, be vigilant, and be kind. Bye.